Good morning. It's me, Pearl from Pearl and the Prayers, and this is Tuned in Tarot. And we are here to take a look at the balance between the divine masculine and the divine feminine aspects of self, understanding that whatever state we find this energy in, we can expect to see that reflected back to us in our external interactions with others, in our outside environment. And if we want to see shifts and changes, we really need to make shifts and changes within our own energy so that we can see them ripple back to us from others. Today, we're going to focus on the release and rebuild spread, which is following the obstacles remove spread that I did this past Wednesday. And you don't have to watch that to still get a lot from this, but it sometimes refers back to that. So you can watch that one first if you want to watch the complete series. Honestly, I don't even remember what happened on Wednesday. So who even knows how much I'll be able to pull from that reading, but it usually comes back to me when I start channeling. So we're going to look at the Empress spread for the feminine side of self. So this is the releasing aspect first, and then we'll take a look at the rebuilding side of the spread, which is the Empress spread, the masculine side of the self. Okay, let us begin. Let me look at the positions for this one. Yes, so this is just like the general energy surrounding what divine feminine has been called upon to release. This is so interesting. Okay, now I am remembering that for divine feminine on Wednesday in the release position, she had to work on releasing her ego in regards to her interactions or lack of interactions because of pride or ego or whatever, however it fell, with the masculine energy. Or she could have been working on releasing a specific masculine. There was also two masculines in the card because I used see how it all comes back to me? I used the small spell tarot, and that has the King of Pentacles, and it looks like this duality there. And so it's possible that divine masculine was holding on to, or divine feminine was holding on to another masculine energy that she needed to let go of, etc. That could be true for some of the collective. But also just really ties into the masculine side of self that is being very egotistical, self-centered, focused on the material, jealous, overbearing kind of things going on, overprotective behaviors. So now the general energy we're seeing in the headspace, this Three of Cups in reverse, and then we're seeing in the heart space the Two of Pentacles upright. So we're definitely seeing for some in the collective, they were juggling two parties. There was a third party that wasn't the divine masculine energy, that they might have been keeping on a back burner or holding in their mind as a potential, or comparing and contrasting constantly to the divine masculine, and feeling I think an attachment that definitely didn't have the same depth of connection as the divine masculine, but was potentially just lingering there in the background. And divine feminine was like juggling her, and it could also be like she wasn't sure who her specific person was. So even if she wasn't entertaining third party energy, which for me is sure, girl, there's no third party energy up in here for me. But like, even if it was more just a kind of thing that was like, is this supposed to be this person I'm focused on, or is there someone else that's going to come in, like the idea of a third party coming in? So she's really working on now releasing that, because she's realizing that every time that she would see evidence of divine masculine engaging in third party energies, or juggling, or feeling this back and forth, or this lack of balance between them, she would entertain her own notions about how she would get back at him by having her own third party energy or something. And it wasn't from a healthy place, which was like ascended, where you're like, oh, my masculine is on his journey and he's learning these skills with all of the people he meets. And parts of our relationship that are difficult for him, he will work out in this other karmic situation, and I won't have to deal with that. And I actually have my own opportunities to do the same thing and just go with the flow and open myself up to potential karmic lessons from other parties if I so choose, or I can choose not to do that because it doesn't feel that good to me. And so instead, I'm just going to balance, my work life with this potential for this future romance or something like that. But there's this juggling that was happening of a third party energy, which doesn't have to be a person. It can also be like your fears and anxieties. It can be your job, your career. It can be your children. It can be anything. It can be anything that you are holding on to that's functioning as an obstacle for you to move forward. And it's placed there by your ego, because your ego is the thing that throws these fears and anxieties your way, so that you have this tendency towards preventing yourself from achieving what you desire. So that's what she's working on releasing, which is an incredible thing to be working on releasing. Here is her hidden assistance. I fucked myself up because I put these cards that I normally put in the heart space in the head space, and the head space in the heart space, and now I'm like, because they're like in my spread in different positions. You know how it is. Okay. We have the 9 of Pentacles. Oh, you know what? I just realized I forgot to say on Instagrams that I'm going live. So I'm going to do that right now. This is not the right account. No, it is the right account. All right, let's see which one. I'm going to sparkle. Hey, I forgot to do the announcement of the live reading, but I'm doing it right now. So you can go over to YouTube and see me doing this reading and being on YouTube right now live and telling you all about it on Instagram because I forgot to do it. See you soon. Okay, perfect. That is awesome. We love that for us. Thank you for being patient. Okay, cool. So in the headspace, we have this 9 of Pentacles in reverse, and it says culmination. Now, this is the hidden assistance. And then we have in the heart space the Ace of Swords, which we saw a lot yesterday in the reading I did on Instagram, which was one of those like, what would your person say to you readings? And it was like a dialogue between the two sides of self. So 9 of Pentacles in its reverse is about releasing self-indulgence. And it's also about releasing the status of being single and fabulous, right? Which, if you're releasing any third-party energy options, anything like that, any potential juggling, just if you're giving off a solid no, I'm taken at this point, then you're hidden. That's your hidden assistance, that you kind of have made this decision finally, which has honestly been your job. You're like, what do you mean? I thought this whole time I was just waiting for this masculine energy to come and ask me to be with him, and then I was supposed to make my decision. It's like, nope, you really were afraid that the masculine energy wouldn't come, so you refused to actually make a decision about whether or not to choose him. And the truth about that is a really that revelation. That's a big revelation. That's like, oh my God, because you realize that before you didn't make that decision because of your fear that you had made the wrong decision by choosing to focus on this energy, and that if you focus on this energy, that somehow you would be diminished because all the years of your life would be wasted when you could have all these other opportunities. Now, if you had held on to the masculine energy with the feeling that only he could complete you, everything I said would be true. But that's not what happened, because what happened instead is that you learned how to value yourself and find your own worthiness inside of your own self. And now that you have that worthiness, you won't be diminished by waiting for what you've asked for. And you will get what you've asked for much quicker if you make that decision to do this. Now, this isn't just like, I'm going to wait forever. And it's not that. I know it's coming, so I'm not going to worry about it. it's coming, right? It's the Empress. The Empress is pregnant. She knows that this baby is coming. She's not freaking out about it every second. She's sitting and she's waiting. All of this abundance is growing around her. It's available to her. She doesn't have to lift a finger. She just waits. That's a different kind of waiting than like, oh, is he coming? I don't know if he's going to come or not. I'm really not sure. If he doesn't come, I'm going to be alone forever. And I really hate being alone. Okay, that's so different. That's not where you're at anymore. So if you decide right now to not even consider any other energy and commit yourself to this sacred union, which is that you won't accept anything but your divine counterpart. You can accept that you don't know exactly who that divine counterpart is. That's fine. You don't have to even hold that picture of that person in your mind, but you make this decision. I will not settle for anything except for my divine counterpart. And I will know my divine counterpart because it will be me. All right. Let's go ahead now and look at your releasing. What past experience do I need to release? The union in this spread that's already here. I can't. Okay. You're getting the Two of Wands upright and the Sun upright. And you're like, what? Why would I have to release happiness? But this Two of Wands has the word planning on the bottom, which is actually one of the meanings of the Two of Wands. It is a card about asking for something and waiting for it to come to you, and not being sure how it's going to happen. And you're kind of in a planning stage. You're planning, and you can be in a planning stage that pushes it away from you. For instance, you can be trying to control every parameter of it, and because the weight is uncomfortable, and so you're like, trying to work around that weight and find all these different ways of shortening it, when in fact you're pushing it away because you're constantly saying like, I don't actually think it's coming. I don't actually think it's coming. So it can be that kind of planning, or it can be planning for the future potential, planning for the happiness to come, and and planning to receive it. This is what I'm gonna do when this happens. This is how I'm gonna feel when this happens. This is how I plan, like how I intend. It's 9:44 and 12:44 on the clock right there. Oh, wow. 4, 4, 4, 4. 4 4s, 4. Oh, damn it. Okay. And also, look, in this card, we have this child swinging. And so the thing, and of course, this is the twin flame saga also with the Two of Wands. So here's what you have to release, Divine Feminine. There's this tendency for us when we are uncomfortable to envision that greener grass. And we've done this since childhood. This is how we survived our childhood. And particularly for this Divine Feminine, I'm assuming that there is probably a lot of work that needed to be done to maintain her happiness by imagining things and fairy tales and that sort of thing. You are releasing your energy of being with any other party except for the one that you desire. And the past experience that you need to release is kind of all of the fantasy of happiness that you felt that this one person was going to give you. Because as we said in the beginning, which I kind of summed up in those 4 cards, I guess what we're seeing here is that you now know that it's your own happiness, your own happiness within the inner child that's going to give you this joy. And it's that journey that brings you to that fulfillment, but it is not the twin flame itself that is what is your true happiness. So releasing this idea that now that you're with this energy, now your happiness is, because that's something that this little child made up. Oh, when Prince Charming comes, then I will be happy. But no, you'll just be you, and then Prince Charming will be there. And Prince Charming is going to have bad days and good days, and he's going to have, entire years of his life where he wants to like give up and doesn't take care of himself, and you're sitting there on the sidelines going like, shit, what do I do? And all you do is just hold the space. Hey, that's Prince Charming, That's Prince Charming too. So it's letting go of this fantasy that now that you have come into union with this person, or now that you are about to come into union with this person, that somehow that's just going to make everything hunky-dory. It's going to be really fun. Don't get me wrong. And when you're having fun, you're distracted. So when you're distracted, things do flow a lot easier and smoother. And I do think you're going to enter into a period of your life that's less exhausting, but it's not because of the happiness of completing with one person. It's because of the worthiness that allowed you to finally come into a union that you really believe in. That's so different. What can I do right now to soothe myself? We're getting the Ace of Wands upright in the heart space, which I should, and the Four of Wands in reverse in the head space. I did not know this card was coming because I have all my cards flipped over here in the main portion of the reading. So it's interesting that I was like, 4, 4, 4, 4, 4. So Divine Feminine, I think what this is about is the way that you can soothe yourself is to understand that you've asked for this foundation, this sacred union. That's the twin flame again, union. You've asked for this. And you've worked to build a solid foundation to be able to have this sacred union, have a marriage, if that's what you desire, but come into this union with what it is that you desire. And you can soothe yourself by, first of all, believing in the fulfillment of your desire, going into that passion for the thing that you want. Could be some solo sexy times in there to relieve some of the tension, because I do sense there's some tension that you were fulfilling with. And this doesn't even have to be sexual tension. It could be the tension of not knowing if it was going to happen. You were filling up with thoughts about potential other unions. If this doesn't work out, well, maybe this will work out. If this doesn't work out, then that, right? Okay, well, this is releasing any of those potential futures and focusing on what you truly desire. Not soothing yourself with thoughts that if this doesn't work out, something else will. But really focusing on the fact that your own commitment issues are the thing that's making you be like, well, if this doesn't work out. Because there's a part of you that believes that somebody can't commit to you or be committed to you because you haven't necessarily been so committed to yourself. So be committed to your own desire for what you truly want. And just soothe yourself by knowing that this card is here because it's here. This is here. It is only in its reverse because it's delayed. And it's just to show you that it's your own resistance to it that is delaying it. And if you can be soothed by the knowledge that your single desire was enough for the universe to make this happen, you can relax. Okay, what can I expect to encounter as I make space for new energy? Okay, in the head space, we're getting the Emperor upright. And in the heart space, we're getting Justice. Wow. Okay. So this is the lessons have been learned, and you have this mastery of the Emperor within yourself. Your masculine worth energy is the highest possible that it can be, which means that your reflection that's going to come back to you will be this Emperor. This is somebody with a lot of prosperity, a lot of potential for growth, a lot of responsibility, persistence, relentlessness, and that can go either way. The ability to control a lot of moving parts and moving pieces. This is an energy that's being cultivated inside of self, and it's not in its shadow. And I'm struck because the husky that's coming to me is all white. I didn't intend for that to happen, but she's all white, but she has little ginger tipped ears, which is perfect for Pearl's dog, I think. And she's going to be named Rococo. Oh, okay. Justice card. This is what you make space for. To finally see justice done. To finally see reciprocation of your Empress energy with this Emperor energy. We don't hate it. We do not hate it at all. Okay. What behaviors have gotten in my way? Wow. Okay. We are getting the Seven of Swords in reverse in the head space, and the Five of Swords in reverse in the heart space. So this is running away every single time that you felt you didn't know what was going on. This was really not having really truly cultivated that faith and trust. And anytime you felt there was this behind the scenes manipulation, it would force you to feel like you should just give up the ghost and stop fighting and stop trying to make things work. That projection that the divine masculine is hiding trickery, that he's trying to charm you or use you, that he doesn't really mean what he says, and then your persistent feeling that you're just fighting for something all on your own, that you're alone doing. Like, this is a very strange Five of Swords. He's holding two swords in one hand, one sword in the other hand, and he's balancing on two swords. So it's like, it was like you couldn't make the decision because you didn't know what was going on. So because you didn't know what was going on, you kept saying like, well, maybe there'll be this other future potential happiness with someone else who's not my twin. Or maybe, maybe my twin isn't intending for us to be together. Maybe there's somebody else that he's used our twin flame relationship to be able to have a better relationship with, who's returning to that point. Like, you would come up with all these different ideas whenever you were in the dark, all this different planning and all this different strategy. And anytime that you started to be afraid that it wasn't going to work out the way you wanted. And so you have to fully release this. You can't be defeated by what you don't know. You have to just trust. It doesn't matter. Like, you have asked for something and it will be given to you precisely the way it is meant to be given to you. What can I do now to avoid this behavior? In the head space, we are getting the Page of Cups in reverse. And in the heart space, we are getting the Eight of Wands. This is giving apologies, because this is also embracing forward motion. There's a few different things going on. First, we've got this Page of Cups energy, which is this, in its light, it's true love, it's innocence, it's new love, it's a fresh start, fresh opportunities. It's about apologies. It's about awkwardness and goofiness and like carving your initials on a tree, it's all of that innocence and naivete. And this is about it, and it's also about the dream. It says dreams on it. It's about the dreams that you have, like the new dreams you might have for your life, for yourself, or whatever. And it's emotional immaturity because it's page energy. So she's just learning how to kind of, fill her cup, share her cup. It's a little messy here. So to avoid this tendency that you have to feel so defeated by any sense of deception, which of course is a deception that you are projecting for yourself. Now, divine masculine isn't helping you out. It's not like he's giving you clear information that all the time that's like allowing you to really feel confident. So don't, this is a no communication separation type of situation for many of us. So for many of us, there isn't any information, and all that we possibly can do is come up with stories. And until we understand that that's what we're doing, just fantasizing and coming up with stories, we're resisting the flow of this energy. We're resisting the truth that comes in the messages. Remember, the hidden assistance here is the truth. But you have to believe you're being told the truth when you hear it. So if somebody comes to you with an apology and says, listen, I'm sorry, and you're like, I don't think you're sorry. Like, I don't think you are, though, because I'm still in this situation. And this person is like, no, you don't understand. I'm sorry that you still have to be in this situation. Like, there's still something that's keeping me from coming forward, but I am sorry for that. And the feminine energy has resisted those apologies in the past and been like, fuck you. Oh, you're sorry? You're sorry? Like, what about me, right? Because of the emotional immaturity there, where, can you not be empathetic? That, for instance, with my son, I would love to live with my son, but I have not been able to do this since he was 7 years old because of a very complex and unfortunate divorce that had a lot of controlling issues and financial abuse involved. And so I have been physically, financially, materially prevented from being with my son unless I chose to sacrifice what it is that I do in my life. So I have often had to say to my son, I am sorry that I cannot come for Christmas. I'm sorry that I can't fly you out here for your vacation. And my child has developed the emotional maturity from that young age to now that he's 15 to understand that I am sorry that is the situation. And if it could be different, it would be. And that's a genuine, heartfelt apology from me. Now he has the maturity to be able to have a dialogue with me about it and understand that. But as a child, you don't. Things are black and white. So if you get an apology and you're still in a situation and it's not the outcome that you desire, a small child will hold resentment because they won't be able to empathize with the situation. So you have to be able to empathize. And when you get these messages of apology or true love or emotional immaturity, you have to receive them with your own understanding of your own reflection of self and believe in them. And then finally, what is growing within me or the connection as I move on? Because remember, this is the Empress spread. So this is the gestation. Interesting. We're getting in the headspace. I don't know why I did that to myself. The 5 of Pentacles. But in the heart space, we're getting the 6 of Cups in reverse. So releasing the past lack mentality, the feeling of being left outside in the cold, the inability to receive all of the abundance that you were holding back from yourself. This is what you're growing within you. You're growing the sanctuary that you were envisioning in the past here, the thing that you needed to release. You're actually growing that within you. You're finally able to start to believe in the wealth, that it's not just this potential wealth, but that it is actually happening now. All right, let's look at Divine Masculine side. This is rebuilding. So Divine Masculine is rebuilding. Now, this is how we're thinking about it. The Divine Feminine side of self is releasing third-party energy, has made decisions and has decided completely to be committed to a divine counterpart. The continued things they need to release include any fantasies that came from this inner child that was this emotionally underdeveloped individual, and any sort of runner chaser kind of energy that's in the thing is needing to be released in order to fully come into this reunion that is being desired. So that's the feminine side of self. Now that we've released this, what are we rebuilding, and how can we be successful in that rebuilding process? So first, let's take a look at the general energy of what we're looking to rebuild. We are getting, for the divine masculine energy, the sun upright and the 5 of Cups upright from the Wild Unknown Tarot. This is the Housewives Tarot. Also, I forgot to mention, even though I talked about the decks a bunch of times, this is the Field Tarot, and this is the Fountain Tarot. They go very well together. They're gorgeous. I love all the decks I have. Incidentally, if you'd like to send me another deck, there's a link below. You can send decks I'm calling in. That helps me change up the imagery, and it's quite fun. It supports me, because if I bought all these decks, I probably wouldn't be able to buy much else. All right. So here we have the divine masculine looking to rebuild his optimism about this happiness, and he's feeling this happiness right now. He's definitely feeling optimistic about this union that he's been wanting to see fully culminate. He's wanted to illuminate. This is bringing light to something. This is shedding light on something, revealing something completely. And this is needing to rebuild his optimism about this process, because there's been a lot of sadness, but there is a horse here, and the horse has a lot of strength. They're interesting creatures, right? They're very powerful. They can hurt you very easily because they're so big and so strong, but they are actually incredibly gentle and timid, and very, very easily, they're anxious, very nervous type of creatures. They require a lot of gentling when you're dealing with them. You have to be very, very calm and centered. And so it's interesting that that's the energy that we're bringing to the rebuilding of this optimism. It's going to take that same kind of gentle nudging, gentle confirmation, like affirmation of this process. And he wants to do this in that same way. He doesn't want to scare this stallion off, like, or like just suddenly it'll just get scared and spooked and run off. He wants to really do this in a nurturing way. So that's the energy that's happening. Here's the hidden assistance. We're getting in the head space the 2 of Cups in reverse. And in the heart space, we're getting the 4 of Cups in reverse. And I actually had to look this card up. This deck was a gift from Tim, who is one of my besties here on Two Moon Tarot and does like styling stuff for me and everything. And so this is a relatively new deck, and I have never seen quite this type of a depiction on a 4 of Cups before. Normally, I'm associating 4 of Cups with fantasies, dreams. There's a individual with their back positioned against a tree, like the Bodhi tree, and they're in a meditative pose. And it's about connecting with nature, and there's a cup that's being offered, and it's not necessarily being received. So that's the normal imagery I've seen before on the 4 of Cups. But here we're getting a rat, which is an animal that it's not the most positive animal for most of us. There are many who love rats. There are a lot of rat pet owners, and more power to them. But they are usually seen as, greedy pack rat type of energy. So they like hoard things. So there's a hoarding and a greediness here coming from the rat. And it's also positioned over all these things that have been fantasized. The moon here is the only real thing that we're seeing that's connecting me with that dream space and fantasy space that I normally see this Four of Cups in, but it's definitely about being in fantasy. So I looked it up, and I'll read you what it says. Remember, we got the reversal on it, but this book doesn't do reversals, so it just has this overall meaning, and then the reader has to kind of feel out. But Kim says, Kim Kranz, this who's the Wild Unknown Tarot, she says, an outsider would look upon your life and see supportive relationships, pleasures, and even a bit of luxury. But you don't see it that way. Instead, there's discontentment, apathy, and even greed for more. The Four of Cups warns not to take your situation for granted or the people who supported you along the way. Look around you. What are you truly longing for? Name it. Okay, so when I looked at that and I thought about that, I thought about the nature of grounding the union, because that is coming out of fantasy. This is about divine masculine. His hidden assistance is that, like, he did protect everything that he desired from this very greedy energy. And the ending of this past, there's another relationship here that has ended. It is removing this energy, both from the individual who was in this position and also for the divine masculine who's actually releasing his own greedy and hoarding energy. He's now, instead of just keeping this in the fantasy realm, he's actually wanting to bring about this culmination and ground the union. This is honestly different for him. Like in the past, I think he's told himself he wanted to ground the union, but now there's a serious desire to do so, because there's a sense that those that were trying to steal from him, or his fears that divine feminine would be like that, he's released those fears, and so released any need to be greedy and hoarding himself. Okay, then we have, what past experiences challenges me in this rebuilding process? So what challenges divine masculine in rebuilding? All right, we are getting the Page of Pentacles from the Housewives Tarot and the Eight of Swords. Now, I really love this Eight of Swords, because this, we know, is this butterfly, this changing, developing from its next phase. It's about to become this butterfly, but it's in this really precarious position. If it opens up its wings, you know, it's never going to be able to fly. But we know that Eight of Swords these are thoughts. These are not actual swords that can cut us. They're just the things that we're thinking about. And I love that there's a Hanged Man energy and the suspension with the truth, and gaining this perspective about how divine masculine has really protected himself from transformation. Now let's go back to the headspace and look at this image, which we have this really helpful little boy. He's like, I'll help. And he goes to you know, he's so excited about these little gestures he can make, and he thinks like he's going to really be able to make a difference and you know, actually make something happen. And so he goes over to help, and then all he ends up doing is just knocking all these plates to the floor, and now there's a mess. They're either broken and irreplaceable, or you know, there's just a really big mess to clean up. And so divine masculine is seeing how his attempts to take these small steps towards this feminine energy to come into this union were innocent. There is an innocence here, and they came from a true desire to be able to try to help the situation. But ultimately he's seeing them now as just a protective energy that kept him from actually moving into this next phase. And he's kind of seeing the truth of that. So that is the past experiences that challenges him as rebuilding, that he tends towards, being a bit reckless and not really thinking a lot about the effects of the small gestures he makes, like the words he uses, the dates he suggests, things like that. It's trying to be helpful, but because it's not mature, it's falling short. What can I do right now to build my confidence? In the headspace, we're getting the Strength card in reverse, and in the heart space, we are getting this 10 of Swords. So this is kind of an interesting thing. This is literally a card about confidence, about having confidence. It's the Strength card. We're normally seeing a feminine energy that's like gently holding the mouth of a lion. And in this, we have Scrubbo soap pads, shines aluminum fast. So we have these strong cleansing pads, which is interesting. These are like going to be able to fight off any tough grease, anything that's stuck on. It's going to be able to just get it right out. It's like a strong cleansing tool. And then we have the 10 of Swords, which is a feeling of being stuck, pinned down by all of our fears, and feeling attacked from outside energy, feeling betrayed. In this case, this animal's blinded. This bull is blinded. But this is also a bull. This is like the bullheadedness of ending the separation type thing, like of being blind to what really has to take place, which is this swallowing of the pride and ego and cleaning up the mess that you made, the hearts that were broken, it was truly innocent, but it's to rebuild the confidence from this, you really have to swallow your pride and make those apologies and take accountability and end the separation. Okay. Then what what possible future challenges could arise? Okay. In the headspace, we're getting the 7 of Swords with very interesting and specific imagery. And in the heart space, we're getting the Mother of Cups in reverse. So now I'm going to say that there is likely a karmic person or a past mother. It could be the mothering energy of the actual divine masculine. It could be a past wife. It could be a past partner, long-term partner. But there is this potential for them to interfere when they don't know what is going on. So if things are hidden from them, they will try to interfere. There might be some strategizing. This is overprotective. This is a mother goose. Like, you come towards her goslings and she is going to fucking bite the shit out of you, and she's going to be loud and noisy and angry, right? That is that is the outside energy, and I talked about it because I would be remiss if I did not. But you have to release that idea that outside energy has the power to interfere, because this is not actually the outside energy. Your future challenge is your tendency to be overprotective, overbearing, and start to strategize and manipulate and hide things that you are trying to protect others from. So if you experience an interfering feminine, you are an interfering feminine inside of self in some way. You have the potential for that. So if you can work on your mother wounds and heal that distorted feminine energy that causes you to fiercely protect what you love by hiding anything that might upset your idea of what peace and calm is. That's not your place to decide. In a union, that is a shared goal, right? And all the information has to be on the table. So yes, you might experience a past partner who will try to interfere in your union. But the way to nip that in the bud is for you to heal those wounds that are causing you to do the same thing to the union itself. I don't know if this is a collective thing. Now I'm like, oh my God, is it like the vaccine now is causing all these symptoms? But like a lot of readers that I follow have been saying they're getting migraines. A lot of my friends have been getting them. And then for the last 3 days, I have had all this like tension in my neck, in the back of my neck, and like crowning my skull. And I feel this like pressure, like a lot of pressure. And it's unusual for me to have this long of an issue. So I'm like, what is this? And it's uncomfortable. And I want a massage. Okay. We are at the position of what past behaviors have destabilized me. In the headspace, we are getting judgment. This piece of meat there on the scale, very, very significant to me. And in the heart space, we are getting the Ace of Wands in reverse. We already saw the Ace of Wands over here for Divine Feminine as something that will soothe her. For Divine Masculine, though, it was judging himself for what he desired. I think judging Divine Feminine sometimes, too, because he was judging himself within himself. I think his sexual energy kind of being a little out of whack and him maybe spreading himself thinly with other energy and having outside sexual energy. There's judgment towards himself. I also feel like he may have been objectifying feminine and treating her like a piece of meat. And there's this feeling, maybe he's done that to feminines, plural, in the past. All of us have. I mean, as a queer woman, I can attest that I objectify women because I'm programmed to, like 100. So we're all guilty of this. This is not just masculine energy. But this has been what's destabilizing him. Judging the feminine, judging himself for judging the feminine, being concerned about what people will think of what he desires, being afraid of the reconciliation, being afraid that he won't receive this, that if he comes forward, the Divine Feminine won't reconcile with him. So that's caused him to really destabilize. What can I do now to avoid this and stabilize? I don't know why that was hard for me to do. You are getting the 9 of Wands in reverse, and you are getting the 5 of Swords, which we saw for Divine Feminine was in reverse. For you, it is upright. And it's this interesting image from the Wild Unknown, where we have this worm that's been severed, this connection that has been severed. And then we have these 2 sets of swords here on either side. Now, this is a card about being defeated and walking away normally, but in the Wild Unknown, again, just like the 4 of Cups takes on a different meaning there with the rat in it, this is, when a worm is cut, it heals. And the 9 of Wands is also about healing. And in this case, we're seeing this feminine here who's climbed up this ladder, and she's just hanging out here at the top. Now, in the 9 of Wands in traditional imagery, there's somebody who's fought really hard to get where they have finally arrived. They have a lot of wounds. They just need to take a minute and isolate themselves somewhere so they can heal from the battle, actually, which is kind of represented here by that 5 of Swords. They want to be able to heal themselves. So the position is, what can I now do to avoid this and destabilize? There is a feminine energy for sure in this picture who is like climbing the ladder in some way, or using the masculine energy to try to do that, and ending or cutting, severing ties with this individual. That is just a message I'm getting for some in the collective. But if we're looking at this in a spiritual sense and not just as like, oh, there's a person that needs to be cut out or sever the connection, we can also look at it as allowing the feminine who has done all this work and climbed to the top, reached the peak, the pinnacle of her success, honestly, but has been isolated and unable to come out. And then this truth of ending this battle between them so that the divine feminine can finally ascend. And I think just sort of divine masculine might have been trying to keep divine feminine alone, because he knew that when she did reach this top, that his own worthiness would make him feel like he needed to walk away from her, like she wouldn't need him anymore, not understanding that she never needed him that way. It's 10:22 on my clock. She never needed him that way. It's just that they complement each other. They are one thing that has been separated, but it is, and and has healed, right? In the Nine of Wands, it's like one soul that has been severed, but now they've healed. They can finally come back together. So there's those layers there, and how to avoid this destabilizing. So instead of criticizing or judging divine feminine for being, maybe thinking that she was, because we've got that judgment card, and this is what was causing the destabilization, and this is the stabilization. So this is not believing that divine feminine is like this other feminine that he has had to cut out, releasing any kind of belief that she's like just trying to, get to the top or something. Not believing in that, not judging her for what she's had to do to get where she has gotten to and what she's had to fight. That's another thing. Really understanding the truth about that, and that they are two halves of the same thing. So if he's judging her, he's judging himself, and he has to go and forgive himself. So he's got to do the forgiveness work, which is, I forgive myself for not forgiving you, and in this motion, I forgive you too. That comes from Meredithia Crystals from last week. Okay. What future prospects do I have to look forward to once I rebuild and stabilize? We are getting the Nine of Pentacles in reverse, which is the hidden assistance for divine feminine over here. And we are getting the King of Swords upright, and he has this multicolored sword here. He's a fierce king. He's wise beyond his years. He's discerning. He's able to strategize. He's a bit intimidating, but it's because he's come into his power. He tells the truth. He's honest. He wields the Ace of Swords, which of course is new information. And then we see a divine feminine. So this is probably two layers. The first layer is that feminine energy that we were seeing lingering, that was challenging, is fully released. So if there's been a third party, that third party is gone. The other meaning of it is that the divine feminine energy has made the decision not to be single. She has decided not to entertain any other energy and instead wait for a king in his integrity. And so this is what he has to look forward to. A divine feminine who is not going to be flaunting her single and fabulous status anymore, because she has made the decision to receive this truth. This truth from the King of Swords. Okay. Now that it's been an hour almost, let's go ahead and start the oracles for the love of God. Okay, we're going to start with Divine Feminine. This will help us fully release and rebuild both aspects of self. I don't need to look at that anymore. Divine Feminine, you are in the light attributes of the wounded child. We saw that sun come up for you, which, by the way, I forgot to point out when it came up. I had to come out also for Divine Masculine there. And the light attributes are awakens compassion and desire to serve other wounded children and opens the learning path of forgiveness. So I just said that you've been working on forgiveness, Divine Feminine, and it looks like you've really done a good job. You have forgiven your masculine. I see these two children here, and they're being held and embraced by this like nurturing energy, this mothering energy. And this is the overall, like the forgiveness for the both aspects of self, for the roles that you played. You are no longer blaming all on dysfunctional relationships, on childhood wounds, and you're resisting moving on, and you're no longer resisting moving on through forgiveness. When we were getting told to move on and release, it's interesting that the end result was that we instead went deep into forgiveness, which seemed like we weren't moving on, but was actually allowing us to move on because it was being in that anger and resentment towards our person that was keeping us from being able to move into alignment with them. Be brave. Be very, very brave. Your guardian angel is here to support you in this continued energy. You've been very strong. You've been resilient. And you're being supported in this. There's a lot of changes that are coming from this healing that has just taken place. And you just need to be brave. I find a deeper meaning and personal growth amid discomfort. So this is, oh, wow, the next card. This is really wonderful because you are continuing along this journey where you started to realize, oh, I can find out anything I want to know about where I'm at based on how I react to certain situations. When something happens to me now, personally, I can tell how much meaning and personal growth I'm able to find and how effective that is compared to the past when I would just be like, why is this happening to me? And acting like, it was this mysterious like process where I was constantly being punished by these unseen forces. It's like, no. The discomfort I'm feeling, once I went into it, showed me exactly what I needed to change or shift. It was my gift. I found deeper meaning and personal growth there. Forgiveness in reverse. You've done this, Divine Feminine. You've really done this. You've forgiven this masculine energy inside of self for its lack of action and for its inability to protect you. It's interesting because the masculine in this story is always trying to protect the feminine. And the feminine is always claiming, I don't want this protection. I want to be able to have this. I want to be able to share in this, union with you. Don't protect me from what I want, sort of a thing. While at the same time, really longing for a protector because she never felt protected or safe. So she's starting to see how she was asking for something and receiving it and then rejecting it. And she's forgiven herself for how she has acted, for her, for her innocence in that Page of Cups in reverse energy, in not knowing any better, and in understanding that Divine Masculine doesn't either. And that's okay. It's only not okay if you figure that out and don't do anything about it. If you don't make a decision, if you don't put your knowledge into action, that's when it's not okay. But just existing as a human with flaws is perfectly normal. And she's forgiven herself for this. And because she's forgiven herself, she's forgiven Divine Masculine. Surrender to the divine. Hey, it's the full moon card. What do you know? And we're right on the full moon. So this could be a timing card for some. But it's really just about surrendering to this release energy that happens with the full moon. Fully allow this release. Listen to this reading from the feminine perspective about what she is needing to release and allow that. Deep replenishment. Retreat, rest, and be held. This is a Four of Swords energy where you're having healing to do, but it's also just about the comfort in this retreat, in resting, in being held. I found myself this morning saying, I just want to be held so much. And understanding that I am, and that because as soon as I connect into that feeling of being held by the divine, the physical sensation will follow. That's just the law of attraction. We are getting cat spirit. Claim your independence. And it came out, I'm pulling these cards from the Tarot of the Divine because I really love this new deck and I'm wanting to learn it. So I figured I would pull them at the end to learn the stories on all these cards. And I just think it's so interesting that we're getting the cat spirit, which is claim your independence. And this is very much a hermity energy because cats are true hermits. And then we're getting the hermit as well. So let's take a look at both of the messages that we're getting from these decks. This first one is the Colette Baron Reed Spirit Animal Oracle. This is the 13th card. I don't know why I said it like that. When cat spirit meows, she is calling you to claim your independence and allow for some space between you and others in your life. The only way you can grow in all your relationships now is to have a healthy sense of self-respect and self-worth. When you walk with dignity, knowing who you are, self-aware and willing to grow, trusting the value you bring, the world will mirror all this back to you in kind. When you say no to codependency and enmeshment, live and let live, and practice taking risks as you wander into new territory for you, cat spirit rejoices. She is here to urge you to let your independent spirit roam free. This, accompanied by this hermit card, which looks like it's going to be the story of the stag, which I used to love that story when I was a kid. Where's the major arcana? There it is. Oh my god, I can't find it. Here we go. Druid and the White Stag. Oh my god, I loved this story so much. The hermit represents solitude and leaving responsibilities behind to focus inward. In the Celtic myth, the elusive white stag encourages people to drop everything and pursue spirituality. Introspection, withdrawal, prudence, insight, and meditation. Divine feminine. Here's what I think. You're not going to like it. There's a part of you that thinks, "Oh, I'm going to choose my divine masculine, release third party energy, and now he can come in." That's true, but only if you truly, truly claim your independence from third party energy, which is any outside energy, which is even the divine masculine iteration outside of self. So this is a time for you to be on your own, not exploring other outside energies sexually, romantically, but very, very seriously enjoying, and I mean this, enjoying the time and the space that you have. Retreat right now from any iterations at all. Now, you don't have to do this in a mean way. You don't have to do this in a ghosting type of way. You can just be like, I'm going to enjoy the fuck out of this alone time because I have been asking for a partner and I really do want that. I do. But when I get that partner, my independence is something I'm always going to have to pursue, right? So I'm always going to have to seek out space. Like my son has been here. He's leaving tomorrow morning at 4:30 in the morning somehow. And I have been sharing a 1-bedroom apartment, and he has my room and I have taken this room, and we have still had to have space from each other even though we live together, and I don't want him to leave, and I would like him to stay, and I would sacrifice my own room for the rest of my life. I don't care, right? But true privacy, when you don't have walls, is difficult. And there were ways I had to seek privacy. I spent a lot of time doing hair treatments in the bathroom, and I needed to, right? So this is a time for you to truly enjoy, just go into how absolutely delicious it is that you get to be alone and nobody's bothering you. Nobody cares if you walk naked to the kitchen because you forgot your phone in there when you were going to take a shower. No one cares about that, you know? Don't have to wear anything ever if you want, if that floats your boat, whatever. You're completely on your own. And there's something so great about that. It's what you wanted so much when you were a teenager. Don't you remember? You wanted your own. I just watched Ghost World last night, and I thought about that, how she wants Scarlett Johansson's character wants an apartment of her own. That feeling. My son is like, I want my own apartment. We watched that together, and he was like, I can't wait to get my own apartment. Well, you got it. Enjoy it. If you can go deeply into this and go back into the state where you're meditating and really centering and really enjoying all that alone time, that private time that you have, it doesn't mean you can't talk to anyone else. It doesn't mean you can't have conversations with people, but it does mean you should carve out a lot more space and time for yourself right now to prepare for union, because this is about preparing for union. Remember, your old self prepared for the fantasy, but your new self is preparing for the reality, which is, it ain't going to be coming up roses every freaking day, man. There's going to be times when you're like, remember when I lived by myself? Remember when this happened? Remember, like, that's so normal. So value it right now. Act like you are already with your person. You've been together for a long time, and they have a big project. You have a big project, and you had to go to different parts of the world. And you're in a different part of the world, and you have such a secure relationship with them. You're not really fearing what they're doing. You're just like, I know they're doing their thing. I'm doing them. Maybe you check in once a day, get a text message, send, you have a short phone call, something, or whatever. Have a little sexy times over the phone call, whatever you do. You touch base with them, or maybe you don't. Maybe you're like, you know what? We haven't had any alone time for years. Let's just take a month and like completely renew ourselves and then come back together and see where we're at. You wouldn't have fear. You wouldn't be like, I hate being alone. I don't know if I'm ever going to see him again. And if you couldn't be alone for that time, you would be like, wow, I guess I really needed to be alone and find myself again. All right, Divine Masculine, let's look at you. Okay. You're in the shadow attributes of the Don Juan energy, which is using the power of romantic attraction for private agenda. And you need to come into the light, which is spotlighting your positive seductive qualities without using or playing other energies. And I actually don't see this right now as the masculine, like having a lot of other partners, because he doesn't, especially when the next card is coming up, and I'm not seeing that. But what I am seeing is that he's using a lot of the techniques that he used to use when he was trying to woo others' energy on the divine counterpart, because that's what he's known. That's how you do it. And there's a little shadiness in there because he has a private agenda with her. That's not really about the union, about the shared needs. It's really kind of more about his own needs. And so he needs to come into the light a little bit more in this energy and stop. We saw that flirtation card in reverse yesterday in the reading. Stop flirting. The flirting is about not being brave enough to do more than flirting, sir. So come into the light. Because the next card you're getting is St. Catherine, marriage. This is the Hierophant energy. It's sacred union. It's showing me how in contrast, out of alignment it is. If you are in this archetype and your desire is for this, how will this happen? So Saint Catherine is here to help support you in preparing yourself for this marriage, because your personal agenda is the marriage. That's the thing. You think that's what's, I think, the most deceptive for yourself in this situation, is that you think because your goal with your divine counterpart is marriage, that your means of seducing her is perfectly acceptable, because you're like, well, the reason I did that was because I wanted to marry her. And she's like, okay, well, if you wanted to marry me, why did you hurt me so much over and over? Because this kind of stuff is so hurtful, right? You had this agenda to show me that you wanted to do this, but the way that you showed me was crazy making, sir. Right? Okay. So those things need to come into alignment. We can't be in player energy if we want to be married. And so you're getting support in that. You also might have had a past marriage that needs healing or is just being protected or whatever. The effects of that are being protected. True healing occurs when I give myself permission to feel whatever feelings live below the triggers. Wow. This is literally like true healing occurs when I give myself permission to tune into my feminine energy. Yes. There are feelings that are living below the triggers that you experience in your life. And once you start to work on yourself and do shadow work, you come into a state where you are starting to pay attention to when you are triggered, which means you have an experience that makes you feel upset, out of sorts, off, it makes you reactionary, whatever. You pay attention to what was going on, and you sort of explore that. And you're like, okay, there's something deeper going on here than just my friend sending me a text that disrespected me. What's the deeper wound that's there? Is it an ego wound? Like, is it that I've never let myself feel sad about being neglected or losing a person in my life, never grieving it? So true healing occurs when you give yourself that permission to feel the things that you couldn't feel. Maybe you came from a family that said feelings were not useful. They were not helpful, that they were weak, that they were a sign that you were reactionary, something like that. You're getting the spirit guide card in reverse. You might not be listening to your spirit guides. Or you might just be at a point in time where you're trying to get to know your spirit guides a little bit better and you're seeking them out. They're also here to remind you about the eternal connection and the reflection. This is also could be that you rely a lot on divine feminine's process to help you. And you're being told that you need to take an active participation with your own spirit guides to be able to move this union forward. The answers you need are coming. And I do think with the spirit guide in reverse, maybe you've been like seeking answers and not getting clear messages, or not understanding the messages you're receiving, or you're asking for things to be a certain way and you don't understand why it's not working out, and you keep asking your spirit guides, like, tell me please what I need to do. The answers that you need are coming, and they definitely have to do with communication. And there's that twin energy. Then you're getting your dreams need a practical plan. Now, this is very much that Four of Cups and energy in reverse about moving from spiritual into a practical. We could be hoarding our feelings and emotions because we feel they are impractical, but then have no practical way of expression. So you have to give your dreams now a practical plan instead of just being in this fantasy of what might happen. You're getting Imrama, which is where are you being called to journey to, which was in reverse. And the ever unfolding rose cracked open. It's happening for you, not to you. So this is the same thing, the triggering thing. Going within, giving yourself permission to look at the things that happen to you that cause these emotions to come up as being for you. They are the triggers that you experience are for you, and they're a sign about exactly where you're being called to journey to. This could also be about leaving behind hermit energy too, because this is in reverse and this is sort of about like the hermit's journey. So it can be no longer doing this on your own and thinking that all these things are happening to you, but instead embracing that these things are happening for you and that you are completing this journey and that you don't have to take this journey alone anymore. And then we're getting hummingbird spirit, be here now. And the 7 of Cups is also coming up from the Tarot of the Divine, which is interesting because this is about a person who's got a lot of fantasy that needs to be grounded in reality, a lot of options, a lot of choices to make, and he's confused and foggy, and he's seeking guidance. He's seeking those answers that we're seeing that need to come up in the oracle about how to proceed. And then we're seeing this hummingbird spirit card, which is like be present. So don't be distracted by all of these fantasies. But let's take a look at the message from Colette Baron Reed about be here now. The hummingbird's wings beat so swiftly it can hover in seeming stillness as it drinks deeply from a flower. Hummingbird spirit comes to remind you that the beauty and sweetness of life is in the eternal now, the timeless present. Here and now you are becoming the person you wish to be, to have the experiences you wish to have. Focus your energy on the flower before you, for what you desire is being provided. Yes, there are blossoms everywhere. The choices can be dazzling. Hummingbird Spirit's message is that you have no need to go about in search of something better, for all that you require and desire is before you. You will know this as you become still, feeling your connection to Spirit who loves you unconditionally and will always provide for you. Listen to that last part. Hummingbird Spirit's message is that you have no need to go searching for something better, for all that you require and desire is before you. So any fear that you don't have what it is that you are seeking, let that be put to rest. And then let's just take a look at the extended messages here from the 7 of Cups, which is the story. It's an Arabic folktale from Persia. And it's the 7 cup. I thought it was Aladdin. Standing before a myriad of fantastical dreams, it is impossible for him to pursue them all, and it is important he makes his decision wisely and quickly. This can be about daydreaming, fantasy, decisions, wishful thinking, and procrastination. So just embrace that you have all that you desire right now in this moment. All right. The final cards for the couple. You are in the archetype, both of you, of the Fool, which is a lovely place to be. It is a new beginning. It is the new beginning that you are seeking. It is fearlessly revealing your emotions for one another and helping people laugh at absurdity and hypocrisy. What's really interesting is I had a dream about my DM, and it was very detailed, and I rarely dream about him actually, and it's never good. So this was a really rare dream for me. And one of the things I noticed the most is how much we were laughing at the absurdity of the situation that we were in. It was just an absurd situation, and we were making each other laugh about it, and we were very lighthearted, and we were carrying that into this dialogue about our relationship that we weren't even actually having. It was like this telepathic communication almost. We weren't saying anything, but there was an understanding of like, we're stupid. Like, we've been so ridiculous this whole time, and it's fine. And there was a forgiveness there. It was a lovely energy. It was a really good dream. And that is where both of you are, laughing at how absurd you've both been, how foolish love makes you, fearlessly being foolish in front of one another. I'm an idiot, okay? I'm an idiot. You love me, so you're an idiot too. Let's be idiots together, okay? Your faith card is in reverse. You need a lot of help here. This is the journey. This is what you're learning. So it's not surprising that you need support in this, because this is the hardest lesson to learn. And if you are confused about this message or about my ability to pull cards that are meaningful, the next card right behind it from a completely different deck says, my happiness is a direct reflection of my level of faith in the universe. I'm not even going to read it anymore. I don't need to. Your happiness, it's a direct reflection of your level of faith in the universe. Right now, I feel really fucking happy somehow, and my son is leaving in the morning, which is making me also sad, but I feel happy. And I remember saying to someone once, I don't know how I feel right now. I feel really happy, but I also feel sad because I was parting from them. And they were like, oh, you can totally feel both of those things. In fact, that's the whole point. Compassion. It's important that you have an incredible amount of compassion for one another right now. There's no one here who's at more fault than the other. There isn't. It might seem like that to your ego, but your ego's wrong, bro. Totally wrong. Your ego's often wrong. It's most often wrong about its assessments that it makes about situations, just so you know. It's not ever right. The divine masculine is not more at fault than the divine feminine. And the feminine energy could be like, oh, but he cheated on me or he did this, and the masculine energy could, but she cheated on me and she did this, and it's like, oh, okay. True compassion is an understanding of the circumstances that dictate choice. It's a knowledge that if we were in the same position, we don't know how we would react. It's an admission that there are things that we wanted the other person to do that were conditional. And conditional love is not the same as unconditional love. No one is more at fault here. There might be a responsibility on one person to initiate interaction more than another just because of the dynamic of what has happened. But their responsibility to initiate does not indicate their fault. It just indicates that they are the person who has been given the ball. Show the world the real you. Fearlessly. Fearlessly reveal that emotion. And we're having another Aquarian full moon. So this is full moon in Aquarius. Maybe that would be a good time to show the world the real you. I don't know. Mintaken. Longing for home, belonging, the original light workers. And this was in reverse. So you have been feeling this longing and this longing and this longing. And I'm going to give you some peace when I tell you that you will feel like you have come home when you reunite. But then very soon you will realize that you both want to go home together. And that's actually different. What you thought was a longing for one another was a longing for someone who understood the longing for home, who was one of the original light workers that is longing for their home, which is somewhere in the cosmos, not actually here on the earth. And there is a reason why you've always felt that distinction, why you felt like an outsider, because you were from this group, from this collective. You do belong together, as everyone in this collective does. And your longing for home is not going to go away, but it's going to be understood. You're going to be seen and heard in that longing, and it's going to be a shared one. And it's the reason why you're on this mission. Canary spirit, sing your own song, and the 8 of Cups, walking towards your higher calling. Now, when we got the 8 of Cups yesterday for the masculine energy, it was a crazy one because it was 8 cups that were completely smashed and there was nothing that could be salvaged. And now we're getting this 8 of Cups where every single cup is fully in perfect condition. And yet, even with these perfect conditions here, we see this energy still called towards their divine calling. In this case, we see the divine feminine and the moon energy. But let's look at how these two cards go together. Canary spirit is number 12, which means we have a progression because we have the 13 card as well. My head is hurting. If your head is hurting, comment about it. Because I've heard so many people saying that it's hurting, and I'm like, it's the vaccine. Okay. Canary Spirit, sing your song. Canary Spirit arrives to help you find your authentic voice and express what is in your heart. Free yourself to experience your inner light and let it shine. As Canary Spirit sings to remind you of your inherent joy and to support you as you sing your own song, now is the time to let the world know who you really are. Canary Spirit's message is that you are free to be yourself and express your most cherished desires. The world wants to hear your song. If your inquiry is about a relationship, you're being called to fully be yourself, for only then will you find harmony and joy. You can make music with others so beautifully when your note rings true. So, this is a call for you both to fully be yourselves with one another. Walk away from any of those behaviors that haven't served you in the past, where you've been masking or hiding behind fantasies or other options. And the story from the Eight of Cups it's a Hebrew legend. It represents leaving good things behind in the pursuit of higher ideals. Moses was raised as a prince of Egypt, but realized he needed to sacrifice his royal life and wealth to pursue a spiritual and ascetic one. Walking away, introspection, escapism, withdrawal, and seeking the truth. So I do feel that this is you both walking away from worldly things to pursue your higher ideal, which is that union, to be able to sing that song together, to be authentically yourselves. All right, thank you so much. Oh no, I'm not quite done yet. I forgot. I know that it's an hour and 25 minutes, but we still need our closing cards here that will indicate what we do need to do today to come into this alignment that we're seeking. Okay, these cards don't want to come out today. So what are some of the minor things that we can do today to help us? Please click like, subscribe, share. Click on the links below to go to pearlsprayers.com and book a personal reading coaching session. Music, there's music there. All sorts of things. So pearlsprayers.com, and you can click the support button if you just want to send a gratuity to help support me do these live free readings for you weekly. Wow, we're getting a lot of messages. Alrighty, let's see. Masculine, feminine energy. I will be back again on Sunday. You can find me on Instagram Live with Grace Strega, probably around 12 noon Pacific time, 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That time sometimes changes, so just keep an eye on Grace Strega and my stories. Oh, that's interesting. I'll take this one. In order to see what time, in case there's a change. And we do actually answer questions live during those readings. So if you want live questions answered, go ahead and watch that reading. After the check-in, we open it up and you can ask us any questions at all. So we pull cards for you if you want, or if you want to ask us personal questions, if you want to ask about how to read tarot, anything like that, you can ask us. Alrighty. I also have some other readings I do on TikTok and Instagram. So there's a lot of content out there if you're feeling you need me tomorrow when I'm not here on YouTube. Okay. Let's go over to the Divine Feminine side. Divine Feminine, this is what you must do today in order to come into alignment. And these are just the minor things usually that we ask for. I love God. Have faith. Love is coming. Surprise invitation or meeting and hesitation are all encompassed in that. Talking, interested, conversing more, awaited message arrives, text, call, email, Ubering, a letter, and the Seven of Swords, which is about a surprise usually. So again, a surprise invitation, a surprise letter, surprise news, and then happiness, flowers, a bouquet. I think you're supposed to have faith today, Divine Feminine, that you are going to receive communication, beautiful, affirming communication, conversation, that the hesitation is over, and just really have that faith that you will see this today. Divine Masculine. You're kidding. Holy shit. You're getting date, meeting someone new, dating, getting back out there, planning or setting a date. The Golden Mirror, self-absorbed, narcissistic, one-sided relationship and love bombing. The Queen of Cups in reverse, good old Maud from The Big Lebowski, and the Five of Swords in reverse. So I think Divine Masculine, it's interesting because I think that this is planning or setting a date with your counterpart at this point in time, and fully releasing this one-sided relationship, which has caused so much emotional upheaval. It's your machinations have been emotionally manipulative, and you don't want to be defeated by this energy that has existed, because you have this intention to actually set a date to end the separation and to come together and be with this new energy that you seek to be with. And you have to deal with that Don Juan card that was in reverse, which was talking about using your romantic charm for your own personal agenda. So you have to release this emotional manipulation. Don't let it defeat you in going forward towards what you want. So be really mindful about how you are planning this meeting with Divine Feminine, how you communicate that to her today, and be very confident about the follow through, that you do have that absolutely you have the power to do this. All right. There also might be a past feminine energy that actually was treating you this way, like a self-absorbed narcissist, that you don't want to fight anymore. And so instead of fighting against this energy anymore, it's just like, you're like, fuck it. I'm just going to do it. Like, I'm just going to go ahead. I'm going to bring this new person into my life. And I'm just not going to let this self-absorbed narcissistic individual keep me from doing this anymore. I'm just going to release this energy and get what I want. The bottom of the deck for the both of you, we are getting the Queen of Wands upright, love in reverse, which is unconditional love, self-love, oneness, passion, affection, and attraction, and Myss, the robber mice, take your treasure. Okay. And this is here the Seven of Wands, where we're having to stand against these opposing forces. So your shadow right now is that there is this potential for outside energy to rob you. But you have to remember that that what you have cannot be taken from you. It cannot be taken from you. It cannot be. There is no way. So embrace this unconditional love that you have, that is here. And do not let your fear of a jealous, wrathful energy and their potential to steal, that you're going to have to fight off this energy. Just allow the strength of this unconditional love and the fact that it can't be stolen from you to lift you up so that you can bring about this sacred union for the love of God. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope that you have a beautiful rest of your day. I will be doing my best to keep my spirits up and hanging out with my beautiful, amazing, incredible son, who's 15 somehow. I do not know how that happened. But that's going to be the rest of my day. And I will see you all here on Monday for the Divine Masculine Feminine check-in that will take place. And if you want to see me before Monday, go over to Instagram at noon on Sunday and you can see me with Grace Strega. Thank you so much. Have the best day today. Take care.